You're watching us right here on Bernama Today. Thanks for joining us today. Sonia, Aisha and Jessie Chahal taking you through. As my producer said earlier, he said this is your captain speaking. So it just gives us that feeling of, we are on a flight and we're going to go through this next 1 hour on our journey together. So thank you for being with us. It is Thursday, of course, the 17th of October.
That's right. It's going to be a jam-packed hour as we bring you the latest news from in and out of the country. We also have two very special guests with us. Mikhail Raj will be talking about the Malaysia-India oil palm crisis, as well as a fashion designer. Basically, he specializes in designing dresses for dolls.
That's
so don't
right.
go anywhere. But on that note, we're also going to be talking about some mishap that is happening in Turkey, Jessie.
Absolutely. So this, of course, just happened yesterday. Many of you would have already heard this news. A Malaysian was killed and 10 others are hurt after their tour bus was involved in a mishap in an area known as Afyonkarahisar in Turkey. Now, a spokesman from Wisma Putra, when contacted by Bernama, had said, or rather confirmed, that the accident involving a bus with 35 Malaysians occurred when the bus was travelling from a place called Pamukkale to Cappadocia.
That's right. So it involved 35 Malaysians altogether, and the Selangor State Development Corporation Corporate Communication Division, in a statement tonight, confirmed that the bus which was involved in the mishap was ferrying 35 of its personnel who were visiting the country, and the corporation also received a report on the accident from the Malaysian embassy in Turkey. So I guess, Jessie, when we're traveling, we tend to take our safety for granted. So this just shows that accidents can happen when you're also traveling. So I guess safety belts is also very crucial.
Absolutely. So we will hope to hear more on this, of course, piece of news as it unfolds as well, just to find out how everyone else is doing. We'll be giving you the update, so make sure you keep it locked on right here to Bernama as well. Now, of course, we've had the haze issue. Now we've got a bit of rain as well, maybe a bit too much rain.
And the sky has cleared up, but unfortunately,
something else that's on the horizon, and that is, of course, the cases of dengue, which is still rising. In Selangor, it has recorded 58,000 dengue cases, and we're almost at 50 deaths, 49 deaths so far to date.
That's right. So the Petaling district recorded the highest number of cases with 21,858 cases, followed by Ulu Langat with 12,245 cases, and the Klang with 10,698 cases, followed by Gombak with 7,497 cases.
Right. So if we try and make sense of this number, what does it all really mean? Well, basically, based on these figures, the number of cases in Selangor has risen by 77% compared to the same period last year. So what is it that we're not doing right, and what do we need to do to further help, ensure that this, I guess, in a way, rising disease or plague ends quickly?
Yep, exactly. So there's a tip over here. So apparently the feeding time of these mosquitoes is usually occurs early hours of the morning or evening just before dusk. So I guess to whoever who are heading outdoors during that period of time, just be extra careful, and I guess applying insect repellent before you head out, that would also be useful.
That's right. Talking about unwanted things, here we zoom in into take a quick peek into what's happening at the 1MDB trial as we try to get rid of all these different kinds of scandals that's surrounding our country right now. The One Malaysia Development Berhad, or 1MDB management, literally gave a loaded gun to Petro Saudi International Limited to be held against its own head when it signed to join in a venture with the company.
That's right. So in the High Court yesterday, it was revealed that 1MDB management did not even do the basic checks about the company, let alone find out if it was really involved in offshore oil and gas exploration and the energy sector in places like Latin America, Europe and Central Asia. Worse still, the former CEO of 1MDB was left searching for words when asked to explain how he signed away with $1 billion of the nation's money to a wrong company. So as you can see there, that is the infographic on the 1MDB scandal. I think if you want to get a clearer picture of this, you can head over to Bernama's MMD site and you can find out more information about the infographic.
That's right, it's broken down right there. Later towards the hour as well, of course, besides having Mike on the show, we'll also be speaking to our guest who is a dressmaker for dolls. But also very quickly, the PM is about to launch the National Transportation 2019-2020 policy later today. And of course, we'll be also bringing you those updates as we alert you on our various platforms available at Bernama, as well as when we receive news. I'm sure that will be breaking news right here on the channel as well. Talking about the Prime Minister, he says that we've come a long way since the year 1996 when the MSC status for companies was launched. Many of you will remember this. It was the Multimedia Super Corridor.
That's right. I could still remember it clearly, as this is evident as Malaysians tech firms are now recognized as global players. So Tonton M specifically said he is proud to note that our local tech companies are now recognized as global players. For example, we have Eradication, which specializes in AI-driven drone-based technology and is ranked number 3 in the world. We also have 3 local companies, Jesse, listed in Forbes Asia's 200 best under $1 billion 2019 category.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
And of course, if we jog back, we can see that there had been, the infrastructure provided as well for these companies to thrive back then, and they've gone so far ahead, and most of them top of the game. Local developers of creative digital content have made a name in the world of animation as well as games, citing titles such as Boy Boy Boy, Upin and Ipin, No Straight Roads, Krypton Crab, and Legends. So very exciting times as well. I would love to hear how some of these companies, in fact some of their success stories, how they really made it, and we could bring them to the studio as well. That's to right. Talk about this. Will be interesting. Well,
and also supporting them into making sure they achieve the global market. I think I remembered seeing Upin and Ipin at the Cannes Film Festival back in 2013. So I hope those kind of initiatives are being introduced, should be introduced by the government to support like you said, the digital creative content of our country.
That's right. As we zoom into the next story, today is also International Day of the Eradication of Poverty. And on that note, the Prime Minister says that urban poverty is due to rural migration and lack of skills. He says the rise of this rural-urban migration and the people's limited self-development skills have all contributed towards the growing population of urban poor in the country.
That's right, but it has also created some issues because in some occasions these rural folks would have migrated to the cities without having proper qualifications and employment prospects. So many did not allow themselves to be trained, which resulted in them earning low income, and of course then they would have constitute as becoming the urban poor, says Dr. Mahade at the 2019 International Day for the Eradication of Poverty Forum.
That's right. So to add to this problem, he stresses that the government can assist by providing training to help rural folk who migrate to urban areas develop new skills, and of course help them to secure better employment with better incomes as well. So he is urging right now for more people to venture into entrepreneurship to alleviate their social economic status. And of course the Prime Minister also wants to stress that a country cannot consider itself developed if some segments of society are left behind. In this terms, meaning that these segments of society have no access to basic amenities as well as jobs to help them with sufficient income as well for their family as well. So it all really starts at the grassroots level as well, and I think he's pointing out to some really good points right here.
Yeah, I'm definitely on him with encouraging people to take up entrepreneurship, because I think that it's one of the way to elevate their social economic status. I mean, take for example America. When the 2008 financial crisis happened, that's how a lot of people started to venture into entrepreneurship, and it has created a lot of jobs for the country, and I think we can do the same if the people pursue entrepreneurship. So
yes, absolutely. And of what more here, we have many grants available, we have that infrastructure and support from the government as well, and really there are many problems that can be solved within Malaysia as well. So go out, look out, keep that keen entrepreneurship eye on, and who knows, you could be the next huge tech companies solving
Bill Gates or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So from there we move on to another story. I think it's important enough that we wanted to share with all of you. This is regarding the birth and MyCard registration that can be done online. So the National Registration Department Director General Datuk Ruslin Ajuso is saying that starting next year, Malaysians can register for births and apply for a 12-year-old's first MyCard online. This is great news because, you know, when I just had my kid, we had to do it. You have to get your name
and the lines,
registration, everything done within 2 weeks. And yeah, so it was
not only that,
fun.
when you're applying for your MyCard as well, the line is just, you know, crazy long when you're at the NRD's office. But of course, NRD said that applicants will only need to come to their office to present original documents for verification purposes before collecting the new documents they applied for. In line with the advancement of digital technology, it is high time that our NRD moves forward and improve on the delivery system at its counters.
Yeah,
right?
so it makes it all easy, although you still have to go to the office or the department, but I guess it really speeds up that process and that waiting time
and
as
it's
well.
not just a MyCard and birth certificate, it's also for marriage applications for non-Muslims, and they also have the first, I guess 12-year-old MyCards identification card extraction by individuals or external agencies.
But there are some new features that they're trying to add on as well that will be available
one of it is the MyCard replacement and the registration of death.
Correct. So the NRD hopes that these enhancements will of course help all of us provide or receive better service, and of course, like they said, like we had also pointed out, reduce our waiting time. So here's a quick question though: should we only have one card after receiving driver's license, and for those who end up not driving, just the MyCard? Like, can everything be centralized under one? I think some time ago they did try that.
Not only that, remember they also had touch and go in your MyCard.
Yeah.
So I think that was a great, especially when you're in an emergency situation on the highway, I can just pull out my MyCard.
Yeah.
But yeah, good question there. You know, whether should we combine our driver's license with the MyCard?
Maybe we'll check with Mike when he comes in shortly in just a quick bit. All right, on that note, talking about citizenship and MyCard and registration of birth, let's look at our friends who are foreign workers here in the country. Only 15% of foreign workers in our nation are in fact employed, and this of course is a prediction of forecast by the year 2020. The government has fixed the number of foreign workers in the country's workforce at 15%. This of course coming up from the Ministry of Human Resource.
I don't know whether that's a good quota though. I mean, a lot of us still rely on helpers that come from Indonesia and Philippines, so I don't know if that would be affected, those kind of jobs. But of course, the current policy of the government is to prioritize employment opportunities for the locals. The government had only given permission to hire foreign workers in certain sectors and subsectors that have been identified as having little interest among the locals.
Yep, that's right. Okay, on that note, we will take a quick break. When we come back, we have Mikhail Raj Abdullah here in the studios with us to talk to us about India to reduce Malaysian palm oil imports. Of course, a big discussion point there as well. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Hi there and welcome back to Bernama Today. Sonia and Jesse with you on a Thursday, 17th of October 2019. Of course, we mentioned that we have a very special guest with us today, Mikhail Raj. But before we jump into our topic, you know, we promised that we were going to ask him the question about the MyCard. What do you think about the MyCard and the driver's license being combined to one?
When you talk about the transition in e-wallet and you can pay your bills, you know, your transactions and all that, I think it's nothing new. There's a way to go, because even now your MyCard is also a touch and go card.
True. That's right.
So you can have your driving license, so you don't have a separate driving license. It's all there, you know. But when you lose one, you lose everything, you know. Like when you lose your wallet, people really are worried about the ATM card and the credit cards, you see.
Or we should link it to our mobile phone or app.
That's a better idea, to have it in some kind of cloud somewhere. All you have becomes some kind of scanner to just...
This is a progression, a work in progress.
True.
I think you have to accept it, things like that.
I know. I guess all of us have our own opinions. But of course, Mike, we're going to talk about the Malaysian palm oil issue with India. So of course, being a small nation, we depend a lot on other countries, whether it's small or big, for their support. import, and India being our largest purchaser of refined palm oil, and now they're saying that they're planning to reduce the imports from Malaysia. Is this statement
panic
true?
button mode?
Yeah, panic button, but is it true though?
Firstly, because as it is, the palm oil industry is inundated with so much of pressure. You have the European Union not wanting to buy palm oil as part of our biofuel because that we do not have sustainable cultivation of palm oil. So there's a pressure there, and a few years time we are looking at the EU market going down. So we have to look for new markets, and suddenly India was really a major market. You know, we were like 28%. Over the past 1 year, our exports to India have gone up to about double to 56%, you know, 57%. So there's a doubling in the market because they sort of gave us some concessionary import duties, you know. So that's a real major market, and now you have this threat that India might sort of reduce palm oil imports from Malaysia. The good news though is that it has not become official. Neither government has said anything. I mean, Malaysia has said that we have to wait for details, and the Indian government has not said anything officially.
But this, of course, comes from the backlash after the Indian government was angered after our Prime Minister, Mahathir Mohamad, said last month at the United Nations that India had invaded and occupied Jammu and Kashmir and asked New Delhi to work with Pakistan to resolve the issue. Should we meddle? I mean, we've had a wonderful relationship with Pakistan and India as well. Why are we, I mean, do you think there was reason for that comment to be?
That's very debatable. I mean, the Dr. M, if you know where he's coming from, he comments on everything. See?
Sure.
But I think, and he also said yesterday that in case if they sort of impose higher import duties on Malaysian palm oil, we will have to resolve it in diplomatically. So you know, our government will have to approach their government and things like that. But so far, no confirmation. But however, the market reacted. So traders, there was a 5-day rally last week, you know. Then when Friday, when the news came out, the rally snapped, you know, and then the prices went down. So those are the things. You know, already the industry is already grappling with low prices and demand, supply, and then disease and things like that. No labor, and now you have this new issue. But the more important thing is that the concern on some more than 500,000 small holders who depend on palm oil, you know, so they themselves grapple with small plots of land, very unprofitable, you know, there's no economies of scale, things like that. On top of that, they are forced to have this RSPO, Roundtable Sustainable Timber, and then adhere to the MSPO. All these pressure put in by the Europeans, basically because they don't want palm oil to be able to compete with their own vegetable oils like soya oil and you know, and the rapeseed oil and things like that, because palm oil has got better yield per acre. So it's all a trade issue, market issue, but they're putting all these impediments and all that. So which is why now the thing about India is a very serious issue, because it will really affect us very well. But
so is it still just hearsay, or what is true out of this entire?
Intense speculation. What is true is that
a lot of politicians tend to say, you know, things. You know, like I mean, for example, Trump has said a lot about North Korea. You know, and I guess for Dr. Mahdi, we can say it's a self-inflicted wound for this
but
case.
I think they have to demarcate. I think the market has to demarcate from the politics. You know, so I think the politicians will say anything what they want to say. But as far as the market is concerned,
do you think it's necessary for India to react?
But you see, even India, I think they won't just react simply because they depend on our refined oil. In fact, their long-term goal also is to reduce their refined palm oil from Malaysia, because they want to refine the oil themselves. They just want to buy palm oil from us. They buy crude palm oil from Indonesia. So, but in the long term, they will reduce our imports. But in the meantime, if they cut our imports maybe next week, or they raise our import duties, then we'll be affected. So we are taking action, and the what you call a knee-jerk reaction by the market, and a lot of traders, even the Indian traders, are confused Our exporters are confused as to exactly what is happening. So the Indian traders being confused. They don't want suddenly like our shipments becoming more expensive because of their import duties. So they are going to Indonesia.
Okay, so basically we don't want to rock this boat. We just want things to go back and to be calm. What can be done to ease the situation to ensure that, you know, it doesn't get into other products as well?
No, you have to refer to Murphy's Law, you know. Things can get bad. So what do we do? From days of old, we have always been looking for new markets to diversify our market base. Remember, China was our major market, Pakistan was our major market, European Union is our major market. So European Union might be going down. China, you really have to get into the market and stay there because of the billion population. They will consume vegetable oils. So is India. So India, you need to preserve it and maybe go and discuss with them. Let's not go this way, let's go another way. But the other thing is that Indonesia is our neighbor, but they are also our competitors. So they sell crude palm oil to India. So if India buys less from palm oil, they gain. So at our expense,
I'm just afraid of the more haze.
And all that. So it's a kind of catch-22 situation here.
Okay.
But we have to see how things pan out. As the days go by, you see.
Yeah, but going off what Jesse was saying earlier, you know, like right now we foresee the palm oil being affected. Do you see this issue being extending towards other products as well?
I don't think so. I think palm oil itself is enough to cause some fluctuations in our prices and all that. I think that's enough a sector. But even yesterday, the minister said that we will also look into exporting more things to India, like sugar and buffalo meat. So I mean, the trade will go on, you know. You have countries sometimes who are at war with each other, or diplomatic ties not so good, but they trade with each other, you know. Like many countries say they don't trade with Israel, the Jewish state, but many actually import things from Israel, you see, and export things to Israel. So that one goes on. So on the business side, it goes on.
Perhaps also they use this, you know, strategy to say, well, because they already have plans to move elsewhere and to move around in terms of how they want to generate their income as well.
You have like, you are Malaysia and you are Indonesia, and you're offering me a discount, you know. So I'm ready there. So India will not just go and disturb its import. It needs that import for the vegetable oil import for its populace. But he knows there's an alternative market now.
Politics.
That is why you can talk like that. You see? Imagine we are the only people who produce palm oil, no one else. Then they won't talk like that because they need that, because the cheapest edible oils, you know, for vegetables, for all the products in India, you see.
So there's more than meets the eye.
More than meets the eye. So I don't think it will come to that.
Okay.
There'll be a lot of positioning themselves, you know, that kind of thing, but I don't think it'll come to a trade war, you know.
Let's just assume the worst, just be prepared, you know. What is the implication towards our GDP, our market? Are there any kind of predictions?
Massive, because even Dr. Mahathir, when he attended the annual general meeting of the Smallholders Association of Malaysia, he told the farmers, even palm oil farmers, most of them have got small lots, you know. He told them to consolidate their farms so that they can plant palm oil and reap economies of scale. And he said that besides palm oil and rubber, try to have a mixed cash crops, you know, like you have vegetables to grow in between the land that you're not using for palm oil in your plantations. See? So this is a good call. But for farmers, smallholders to sort of consolidate the farms, you need a common company, you know, you need to get them together, and you need the person running the company to be fair, equal to all the landowners, and to give them returns even before the palm oil, you know, yields returns. So this is a good call, and because in the old days, when we had so many smallholders, there were about 658,000 smallholders in Malaysia, but now you find that on their own, the yields do not reap economies of scale. So the call to consolidate, and when you have things like the threat from India, you have this threat from the European Union, you need to have bigger plantations to go into other crops, vegetables and things like that. So that is the way to go, and we really need to diversify our markets. We need to go into Brazil, South America. It's a long way off. So these are the things that we can do to negate any adverse implications from any threat or any India resorts to slapping or raising import duties on Malaysian palm oil.
Right. And very quickly though, what do you think will happen with this particular issue? Do you think it will die down, or what's your personal prediction?
It's not a matter of what I think. I hope it dies down because India and Malaysia share a lot of history. We share a lot of markets. We import a lot of stuff from them. They import a lot of stuff from here. We trade there, they trade here. They are a major partner to Malaysia. So I think that I hope this issue gets resolved and we carry on with trading with us more and more. So it's very important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mike, once again. It's been great. We've seen you many days today on the hot seat here. That's us. We're breaking down, of course, what is trending in news as well. So once again, thank you, Mike, and we look forward to seeing you next week back in the studio. That's it from us in this segment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more.
Hi there, and welcome back to Bernama Today. You are with Sonia and Jessie. Of course, earlier we had a very special guest with us, Mikhail Raj, who was talking about the Malaysian-India oil palm crisis. But we also talked about today, how significant today is, October 17th, which is International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. Jessie.
That's right. It is observed every year around the world on October 17th. It was officially recognized by the United Nations, but the first commemoration of the event took place in Paris back in 1987, when 100,000 people gathered on the Human Rights and Liberties Plaza to honor victims of poverty, hunger, violence and fear. Unfortunately, decades after 1987, here we are still, battling these same issues: poverty, hunger, violence and fear. It just seems that it has not stopped, and it's perhaps even getting more and more as we speak. So let's all put our heads together today and try to raise awareness as well on many social issues that are happening around us, as well as to see how we can be more, I guess, forthcoming in terms of how we can help to make these issues less.
That's right. Totally agree with you on that, Jessie. But moving on to our News on the Go segment, we have 1,000 trees planted at Sabah's Crocker Range. So apparently 1,000 trees were recently planted at the Crocker Range Forest Reserve, which is situated south of the World Heritage Site of Mount Kinabalu. So the area covers 350,000 hectares and consists of mountain chains, hills and valleys, and is home to a wide variety of vegetation, from tropical lowland forest and hill forest to upper mountain forest.
Okay, so lots of forest there, but it's a beautiful area, of course, around Mount Kinabalu, known as the World Heritage Site as well, Crocker Range. Now, more than 150 staff, in fact, from Petronas in that picture, the Sabah Forestry Department, local communities, as well as other government departments and agencies had taken part in this particular conservation effort. So they've planted 1,000 trees in that area. That's going to mean so much in the next decade once these trees are, beautifully grown as well. This tree planting was made possible because of the collaboration with Yayasan Petronas, of course Petronas being the national oil company, and their CSR arm or program, which also focuses on environmental conservation. And so out of that, they say that they hope to do more as well, and this is for something that they continue to do from the years prior to this as well.
Yeah, so last year they also planted 1,000 trees at the Kawan Forest Reserve in Papar, and another 2,000 mangrove seedlings to rehabilitate a mangrove forest in Tuaran in 2015 and 2017. Of course, we will continue to collaborate with Petronas says that they will continue to collaborate with relevant authorities and communities through their Sentuhan Alam focus area.
That's right, and I hope that we continue these efforts not just through CSR programs here and there, but on our own efforts as
even
well.
In your backyard.
Absolutely. And you know what? I read this quote the other day very quickly. I wanted to share. What if we planted fruit trees along our sidewalks and around the city center as well, and so that, you know, people can you just imagine literally someone walking past a fruit tree and picking out a fruit,
right.
and
I guess then the fruit sellers will be running out of business, Jessie.
That also is true, and you know, people will steal them and whatever, but you know, it's just a more sort of greener way, a more environmental friendly way to do things.
And I think for a start as well, if you're just at home, I think planting all those herbs, you know, having a mini herb garden is extremely easy, especially when you go to the supermarket. They just cost 5 ringgit and you can buy a basil leaf
Organic is the way to go these days, apparently, you know, no pesticides and all that. But talking about, you know, moving towards environmental friendly, but more than that, being healthy, here's a piece of news, in fact, that is quite alarming. Instant noodle diet harms Asian kids. Now, a heavy diet on cheap modern food options such as instant noodles, it fills your belly but it lacks completely in nutrients, has left millions of children unhealthy, whether they are too thin or they are overweight. And this is happening right here in Southeast Asia, where apparently these instant noodles are quite the hot item.
That's right. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm also a huge fan of instant noodles. It's not just a matter about, you know, they say, you know, money is an issue. That's why people go back to instant noodles. But it tastes good. Jessie, have you tried the samyang noodle?
No, I have not.
The really spicy one. You know, there's all kinds of instant noodles out there.
Oh,
but of course, it is not healthy. And of course, booming economies and rising standards of living. Yet many working parents, they do not have time, money, or awareness to steer clear of food hurting their kids.
Look how yummy that looks there.
It's delicious, right?
Oh, wow. Okay, but let's just, you know, keep let's just be reminded, sorry, that the fact is, and the fact remains, that instant noodles is not a healthy option. A lot of initiatives around the world as well. Here in Malaysia, we try to do, you know, to help inculcate healthy cooking habits at home as well. And so you can get, you know, the kids in the kitchen, whip up some, you know, rice and, you know, throw in the same ingredients that you have here, and you really pretty much get the same kind of flavors. So why is this important? Firstly, if children overall eat poorly, they will live poorly. And apparently, according to UNICEF, they say that they are losing the fight and ground against healthy diets, and so this is becoming an issue around not just the region but the world as well. Of course, we want to, you know, feed kids good food that tastes healthy, that tastes tasty as well.
Time is always an issue, you know.
Time is being an issue, and so I guess the onus is on the parents to ensure that whatever food is being fed to the child at least has basic adequate intake of nutrients, and that, of course, you're covering protein, calcium and fiber.
That's right. But just to give you guys a sense of the scale of the problem, so Indonesia had 24.4 million children under 5 last year, while the Philippines had 11 million and Malaysia 2.6 million, and this is the data shown by UNICEF. And of course, this is a symptom of past deprivation and predictor of future poverty. So of course, the noodles, which cost as little as 12 pence a packet in Manila, are now on essential nutrients and micronutrients like iron, and are also protein deficient while having high fat and salt content.
That's right. If it's easy, it's fast, it's generally quite cheap. You know what I mean? Low quality, but fine. Okay, I understand that sometimes in constraint of time and you know, because it's a cheaper option as well, it is the go-to option of food. But let's be aware today that, you know, although they are cheap, although they're easy, they're quick, they're not a substitute for what should be a balanced diet. And I think, you know, us in the office sometimes we do that over lunch when we're rushing out, you know, projects or rushing timelines. Yeah, absolutely. Hot boiling water. And even, you know, university students, especially when it's time, crunch time for exams or whatever, that seems to be the main option. So it affects all age groups. More than 800 million people in the world are constantly hungry, and another 2 billion on the other side of the world are eating too much of the wrong food, driving epidemics of obesity, heart disease and diabetes. All right, everyone's got issues, everyone's got problems, some good, some bad, you know, but I guess health is the true wealth. So let's make today a point about taking care of our health. On that note, we take a break, Sonia.
Yep, when we come back, we have Ryan Liang, who will be talking about fashion, and he's also a dress designer for 12 inches dolls. Stay tuned.
Okay. Wow, look at that. Pretty, fashionable 12-inch dolls. It's almost like they're going to come alive any minute now. Yeah, so beautiful and so well dressed, of course. Thanks for being with us right here on Bernama Today. Jessie and Sonia taking you through our exclusive interview segment. Today we want to feature a very special guest, and of course he's none other than Ryan Liang. He is a dressmaker for these dolls. Very niche, you would think, you know, wow, who does that?
I know.
But Ryan does it. And of course, this brand is called Shantomo, and he's got passion for this. We're going to talk to him about that today. Welcome to the studio, Ryan. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, so now let's talk about Shantomo, all right? Yeah, how do you start in the first place? Because you chose to create clothes for dolls and not people. So how did it all start?
So we founded Shantomo in 2013. So that was about 6 years ago. So I was a collector for probably around 10 years ago. So we started to make dress for dolls after I showed to my mom, you know, what people can do with the dolls, and she is a tailor.
I see.
Yep. So,
so
the
you
influence,
had that background.
the influence passed down to me, and then I thought, why don't we start making doll dresses, and then maybe we try to sell them and to see how the market goes.
Okay.
So that's how we started the first dress in 2013, and then we posted it online, and then we have collectors who actually inquired about purchasing it. So that's how we actually have our first dress sold.
So that would have been a very exciting time for you when you realized to put it online, and there were all these inquiries, and you were making sales.
Yes.
How big is that market? How lucrative is it, and you know, how much of following is there, not just here in Malaysia, but I guess around the world?
Because these dolls are collectibles, so they are in limited quantities. So we are looking at a very niche market where collectors are willing to spend a certain amount of money to collect all these limited edition dolls.
Right.
Yep.
And these are integrity dolls, you mentioned? So why integrity? Why not Barbie? Because I guess Barbie will probably have a bigger market, right?
Yeah, I guess because the whole production of making all these dresses, they actually acquire money. They actually acquire a lot of efforts and time.
I can't imagine. Look at it, you know, the details. You probably have to be very intricate with your tailoring and sewing.
Okay, very quickly before we show some pictures, let's talk about what's on these dolls and talk about the fashion element. First of all, how do you even get to sew these tiny things and make tiny bangles and a handbag and all of that?
Shoes.
What goes on behind the scenes that people don't know about? Like, what's your workshop like, and how meticulous does it have to be? Do you have magnifying glasses that big?
Okay, the whole process is just like making a fashion for, you know, adults, for human sizes. So first we have to come up with sketches, and then from there we have to execute like which kind of fabric is suitable for this scale, especially because we have to look at the thickness of it and the scale, the pattern. If it's too large, it probably won't fit. It won't look as realistic as on human.
Because I can imagine, like, denim is usually really thick. But, you know, considering the size of this doll, you're gonna make sure it's like a specific type of denim material.
And she's got a fur jacket as well at the back. Look at that! What's on screen now? I want that in real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you make that for adults? Like, can you do it for humans?
Yeah, we can try that.
All right, Ryan. So for the dolls that we have here, we can see a few different styles. Where do you get that inspiration from, and do you do any Malaysian designs as well?
Currently, the inspiration we have is from, you know, fashion weeks, runways, and all that. But mostly the inspiration comes from people that I see every day, how they dress themselves, how they want to express themselves, you know, using fashion as an art. But for
local designs like a baju kebaya, a sari.
We haven't touched that yet, but that would be in our future plans.
I see.
What about these integrity dolls themselves? Do they have a wide range of clothing, attire collection, or, you know, the reason why you came out is because their selection was so limited?
Yeah, I think what we are, because we collectors like something that is realistic, and what this company can provide is that they provide a lot of high quality one 12-inch size miniatures that fits the market.
And you produce it in bulk, or would you say like
custom order?
Custom order.
We do it in box. Okay. Yeah, so there's more than one for each style.
Yeah. So do you have different seasons, or do you follow like certain festivities, or do you what's trending in the world?
This is probably the Met Gala, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So let's talk about these dolls.
This is more of the gala.
Who is she, and what is she?
And did you basically design everything from head to toe, including the shoes?
Yeah, including the shoes. Wow. Yes, except the accessories, though. Yeah. Okay. Accessory is something that we will try to look at.
Oh dear, I almost dropped it. I'm going to hold it in my hand now. Okay, so she's got a brocade top, and this is
a cape, a train,
silk.
I want
this
in real life,
taffeta.
I know, yeah.
And then we have brocade as the dress. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Wow.
And she has gloves and all that.
So maybe can you explain like how long does it take to actually sew one of these?
To sew is actually quite fast after we get the prototype done. So to get a prototype done, we probably might need 2 or 3 days and few attempts to get it done.
Right. So from the time you have an idea, and when do your ideas come? Like when you're sleeping, when you see the Academy Awards?
Yeah. Well, anytime, but especially when I see a nice fabric, I think that is when the inspiration comes. So finding the right fabric would help to do a design very quickly.
And what's the price
on my lap here nicely?
Price range that we're looking at.
Price range is around 60 to 80 USD. Yeah.
And you can ship, of course, internationally as well. What about here in Malaysia? Do you have many clients?
Probably maybe 10%.
Okay.
Yeah, 90% or 80% are in Northern Americans.
Right. How do you think fashion, whether on human beings or dolls, high fashion or not, how do you think fashion and art plays a role in trying to promote good values, especially now that we see in the world there's so many social issues as well? I'm sure it can be a real agent to spread a good message.
I think fashion is really a way for you to express yourself in terms of your character, in terms of your any attitude that you want to portray, and also it's a statement. So if you want to say something, you can do it through the way that you dress, the way that you mix and match your style. So for me, it's an art form. It's definitely something that is very personal and something to also something very therapeutic. Yeah, it helps you to feel better about yourself.
I can imagine.
Wow,
but you said you've been doing it for 3 years, right? No, 2013.
About 6 years.
6 years, right? So what do you think? What would you say is Shantomo's greatest achievement so far? Is there like a fashion week for dolls?
That's a great idea. Can we be invited, please? I'll bring my doll as well.
I think my biggest blessing that I've been doing this is that I'm able to be involved in the fashion design part because it's not something that I studied. I was in advertising and marketing design for a while. So to be able to get myself in fashion design is something that I always wanted to do. So that is one of my biggest dream come true.
Absolutely, it is. Look, but what's on screen right now, it looks super elegant. Something that I think even the ladies will want to wear.
Many requests to do it in real life.
Right? Do you feel there's sort of any kind of different kind of treatment that you get because you deal with dolls? Do you feel that there's some, people sort of maybe make comments that are hurtful, or on the other hand, are people quite encouraging?
I think many years ago when I first started, people would actually mock. Yeah, because you are a guy and then you are doing with dolls. But right now I think we are at this era where a lot of new generation is introducing a lot of new jobs, and then people are started to get exposed through social media what all these things could mean. So I get less treatment or criticism from them now. But from the start, it was quite harsh.
I can imagine. Until you prove to them your work and you actually showcase what
here you are. This is proof. You're right here on the show as well. Do you think it's dolls should only be linked to girls? I mean, you're a male behind this wonderful creation and idea as well.
And Barbie, they had Ken, for example.
I think we shouldn't have stereotypes especially in this generation. So I felt boys shouldn't be talked about for playing dolls. So apparently they have brands that do gender fluid dolls and all that.
Right. Yeah, those are great as well. All our friends in the studio are saying that this is Sonia and Jessie.
Oh, it's probably the hairstyle.
You wear the short skirt, I'll wear the oh, they're both short skirts. They're very fashionable.
I think it's probably the hairstyle that matches my hairstyle for today.
Yeah, but here it is, when you talk about fashion, talk about all things related to beauty, it really does bond people and bring everyone together, no matter where you are in the world. What's your plans for the next 5 to 10 years? How do you see this growing? How do you see it evolving? And what is your long-term vision like?
For the future, I would probably hope that I would get more resources and manpower to help me to cater to more different types of dolls, or probably different brands of dolls, so that we can able to reach different markets, because there are always demands for collectors who want to mix and match with their wardrobe, their doll wardrobes. So what I try to do is to expand.
Yeah. That's right. I think because I grew up playing Barbie dolls as well, and I can remember, it's really fun that when you get to dress them up.
A new outfit,
and I can tell from your work that it is true quality.
Thank you.
Okay, I know where to buy my daughter's dolls clothes.
Are you just selling it online now?
Yes, I'm selling online.
Okay, perhaps you could share your Instagram and website so that people can also log on.
Shantommo.com.
Okay. So that's SHANTOMMO, shantommo.com, and of course great plans as well to move on to diversify, right? When you look at our Malaysian outfits, what are some of the outfits that you think are very outstanding, and what would you like to create? Because we have very many different, of course we have the three main creations, but they're within that also and also fusion stuff,
I think probably I would do a contemporary style of the kebayas, the sari and cheongsam. So that these three are like my favorite. Yeah, but they are also very hard to construct because they are very fitting. And sari at this scale is a bit hard because of all the draping and all the texture. So to find the right fabric and the right scale for them is a challenge, but something to look forward to.
How do you find the right fabric? Are these sourced locally?
Mostly they are not. So we have to ask.
How do you touch and feel? Because
we have to ask for swatches, or through experience we kind of get what kind of fabric that we are looking for.
And what about the shoes?
The shoes, we made them.
Actually, you made the shoes?
Which is more difficult, the shoes or the clothing?
Wow.
Actually, the clothing.
The clothing is more difficult. I would assume the shoes would be more difficult. Or the jewelries. Look at this, it's so detailed. Wow.
The shoes, the shoes are all made of
You need to come up with a human collection, okay?
I'm loving this collection. And when you sell it, do you sell it just the clothes, or do you sell it with the dolls?
Usually just the clothes, the wardrobe and the shoes.
Okay, on one hand, it's, I guess in a way, if I can use the word easy, is because these dolls are all one size.
Yes.
So it's easy to
measure,
stitch and measure, right? Do you plan to move into other kinds of dolls? What about male dolls?
Male dolls, that's right.
We did try male dolls, and we will be having more in the future, because the market for male dolls is slightly smaller. So we will try to perhaps cater more when we have more time and
Look at
demand.
that! Is that you?
That's me photographing.
So you also take their
photographs,
pictures.
Yes.
High quality digital
this
photography.
Is so different. We're away
What other talents do you have? I wanted to ask you one thing though, Ryan. When we talk about dolls, besides just linking it to girls, it's generally a kid thing. It's very kiddish. But now you see that you're selling these high quality and high fashion outfits to, of course, adults around the world as well. What does that following mean? I mean, why are adults interested in dolls?
I think for a lot of us as collectors, we are trying to find an outlet for us to escape to, and then I think this is just like toys. I mean, there are times when we go back to certain things that inspired us in the past. And so dolls is maybe one of them. So I think it's good to go back to something that you feel good collecting or playing with.
Of course, it's going to be very inspiring as well for the kid when they see these dolls and go like, wow, I mean, dreams can be built on this as well. Do you look into, or perhaps want to go into customizing clothes for kids?
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah,
I was trying to see whichever way I can get some
but
nice
I like it. It's
outfits
unique,
here.
you know?
Yeah.
Because Barbie, you know, the contemporary Barbie, it's always pink.
Yeah,
and all that.
pink.
But I like how, you know, this is so like there's a modern twist to
Yeah.
it. You know, we're moving away from that, you know, typical pink Barbie vibe, but more into trendy.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember those used to be like, you know, that really shiny pink skirt that would be so hard to clip.
Yes.
And then, and just to pick up one outfit, you have to beg your parents for it. So times are, of course, changing as well. And now they're accessorized. They've got shoes, they've got bags, bangles, and beautiful capes like this, like as if it's coming out fresh out of the Met Gala. What else would you like to add, Ryan, to tell us about your experience and journey so far?
I think
especially for the younger people out there who like to pursue the same career as you're doing.
I think it's good if you have a hobby and then it can actually help you to earn for a living. So I think the advice is to be persistent and to keep doing it, to keep practicing and to keep doing what you love, and it will actually something became positive out of this.
Any plans to take this to KL Fashion Week, New York Fashion Week?
Well, I hope so. I certainly hope so. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I know.
All right, thank you so much, Ryan, for coming to the studio. Of course, sharing your beautiful collection, these great dolls as well. Sonia's picking it up. I think she's going to purchase something for her doll back home. All right, thank you so much for catching us right here on Bernama Today. We'll see you next week. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Sonia and Jessie signing out.
See you. Bye.
Bye.